Big gay reviews.
Are we recording? Because I'm
Yes.
still eating. Okay.
Oh my gosh! And the first thing we said is big gay reviews. Anyway, this is Albane's area of interest.
Gay reviews.
Well then, welcome back. Thanks for being patient and waiting on us, and for the odd entrance. Thank you, Apple.
Apologies. I'm doing
She's just keeping it real.
Keeping
it real, guys.
Keep it real. All right. We still wanted to talk about the characters of Peeta, Gale, and the scene with Rue, and just a whole bunch of
Thresh.
stuff. And
Definitely
Thresh.
Thresh's scene.
Maybe get a little bit into what each of us, or we were talking earlier
Yes.
about before we were filming,
Yep.
what we were particularly interested
touched on
in
it.
about. Exactly, and so I think that
Yeah.
would be, we can take a moment if you want.
I touched on it.
Go through
Well,
that as well.
I think I'm just gonna. I'm gonna talk about. I basically said what I wanted to say about the feminist aspect. So that's my feminist analysis.
Yeah.
Plus, and I think the romance angle. I mean, it's been. I think the media seems to think that this is the new Twilight with the whole Team Peeta, Team Gale.
We're not doing teams.
It's
First of all.
a subplot. Okay,
It's Team
It's
Katniss,
a
kids.
subplot,
Thank you.
guys.
It's Team Katniss.
It's not
You
it's
know.
not Twilight because it's not a romance story.
Well, as I
it's
said-
not the source of the book. It's something that's happening in the background.
Exactly. One of the articles, I think it was in a People magazine article that I read, they were talking about that, and the author was so blunt, referencing how Twilight is so emphasized so much on the love triangle, and that's the meat of, if you will,
The
for lack of a
story.
better term, of the story. Whereas it's a side story to. It takes a back seat to the fact that this is life and death for these people. Like
Yeah,
this
it's about
is
survival
not
and what it takes to
about
survive.
having, you know,
Yeah.
finding love. It's about living, about
Yeah.
being able to survive.
I understand it. I mean, I'm a fangirl. You know, shipping is fun. It's
Oh,
fun to
yeah,
think about
absolutely.
these things. And I mean, it's even fun
But
to be
it's
like
not the
Team
whole-
Peeta, Team Gale, but like, don't think that this is
That's the meat of the story.
This is
Exactly.
what the story is about.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved about the movie is that they recognized
Yeah.
that it was a subplot.
Mhm.
It
I think
wasn't
that, yeah.
what the movie was about. It was
Yeah.
aspects of the characters. It wasn't the full
Right.
front of the characters.
I think one of the things that I really enjoyed about the book, and I think they really conveyed it, a lot of Katniss's attraction, quote unquote, to Peeta, is in the interest of keeping them alive.
Mhm.
She doesn't know how she feels. She's
Exactly.
a 16-year-old girl
The
who is
emphasis,
thrown.
16
yes.
years old. That's
Yes.
the
She's
other
a
side of it.
16-year-old
Sorry,
girl,
guys, but
and
she's
16. She's confused and she's scared. And Haymitch tells her, sweetheart, you got to do what you got to do to stay alive.
Mhm.
And so she is confused. She doesn't know how she feels. She sees how Peeta obviously feels, and she works with that. But I mean, we see a lot of, you don't survive what they survived together and not have some kind of deeper connection.
Yeah,
It's not
absolutely.
necessarily romantic. And that's
It
kind
can
of what
become romantic.
it can become
absolutely,
romantic,
but it doesn't
which it
have
kind of
to
does
be.
between her and Peeta in the story.
That's why I found
But it's not the whole of what they have together. A lot
Their
of it is the fact
entire
that they
angle.
survived.
Oh yeah, their entire angle was so tragic because you kept on seeing Sid. You kept on. Excuse me, guys.
I speak English.
There we go. You kept on seeing Peeta.
There we go.
There we go.
Peeta.
Peeta.
We have to say it like Effie now.
He kept on
Peeta.
seeing Peeta make overtures towards her, like not even like romantic overtures, like friendly overtures, because you can see he's been hiding these feelings from her
Right.
for so long.
Oh, sweet baby.
And
Every time you looked at the
her
screen,
just
I wanted to hug
like
him.
shutting him down, and it was just really heart wrenching to see.
In the cherry.
And-
Oh.
oh god.
But yeah, again, and I think that was
It makes
just a
sense for
reflection
why.
too.
Oh, yeah, it makes perfect sense.
But
It's not
Absolutely.
even on her
sad.
radar.
It really is.
seriously.
And I think my favorite scene in the entire movie is because at the end of the book, like there's an actual conversation with Peeta, and he realizes that it was all an act. That Katniss does not really know how she feels.
Let's make sure we just stick to, not that you're going in out of
What?
canon, but let's make sure we just stick to just the first book, just for.
Yeah, but I mean, there
Well,
is
I
that
know.
in the
Spoilers.
ending.
I know.
though.
Spoiler. Yeah, by
I'm
the way,
saying,
there's spoilers.
Yeah. There's
I'm
lots of-
saying for. I'm sorry. Continue.
But like in the movie, that entire conversation was completely conveyed through facial expressions,
And it
which
was gorgeous.
amazing. What we see them back at District 12, and District 12's cheering them and being happy, and we see Katniss see Gale, and
With
Gale's
Grim on his
face lights up,
shoulders.
and Katniss's face lights up happily to see Gale again because she grew up with Gale, and you see Peeta see this face
This exchange.
this exchange, and it registers on his face like it was a lie.
Yeah.
But you see that kind of dejection on his face for like as a flash, and then you see kind of the show must go on kind of deal.
Yeah.
And he takes her hand and lifts it up, and I loved that. I love that they convey that entire thing.
And then it made chills run down your spine when you see Snow see it too. And you're like,
oh man!
Which, as an aside,
the
Donald
face I make every
Sutherland-
time Donald Sutherland
Donald
comes on the screen in that
Sutherland.
movie.
Ah! My friend, I know Phoenix and I had commented before, and I think Applebean as well. Not necessarily the person
that we would have picked
I
off
would
the top
have
of our
pictured,
heads.
but you know what?
Flawless.
He was Snow.
Flawless.
He was.
I think what was so...
I could almost smell the blood.
Yeah,
in
what
the
was-
scene with the roses.
What was so intense about Donald Sutherland was Donald Sutherland should not be a frightening man. He seems very grandfatherly. He has
quite a range of abilities.
and his voice is very pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
It's very there's something about the way he carries himself that's very pleasant. It's very grandfatherly.
I still see him as
However-
Elizabeth Bennet's dad. In
Yeah,
Pride
and,
Prejudice.
like,
I mean,
the scenes, the things he's doing, he's like sitting at the banquet. He's pruning roses. He's doing the most non-threatening things in the world, but he is terrifying.
There's a sinister
because
side
there
to
is
him.
something behind the soft grandfatherly voice. There's something behind
that scene with him and Seneca.
Yeah, and
about
it just there's something. You can see it in his eyes. There is something evil in him, and it's terrifying. And Donald Sutherland did a flawless job as Snow. I don't think you could have had better casting. I really don't.
definitely not.
In that situation.
Okay, well, I wanted to talk about the romance aspect, and I've said my piece, which is basically focusing in on that whole facial exchange. So,
I agree.
Applebean, what were you?
One of the things I really appreciated about it was visually what we are seeing with like how the districts are kind of set up. I liked that the film. I know a lot of people, like I said, were angry that Rue's actress was a person of color. A lot of people were angry with Lenny Kravitz being.
It doesn't make sense because she's Australian.
Yeah, well, and a lot of people were angry about Lenny Kravitz being a person of color. I know a lot of people were upset that Katniss was not a person of color, necessarily. But I think that the way the film did it and the way that Suzanne Collins created her universe, I think was really interesting because, like, one of the things I first noticed, and being from Southern Indiana area, most of my family is from the Appalachian area. The way that the scene looked was pictures from my grandmother's childhood. Depression era,
1930s Appalachia.
1930s Appalachia. The Tennessee Valley area, very, very
Kentucky,
poor, where your top two causes of death were death in the mines and starvation. And it was just the clothes. I think that was perfect. I think that was flawless.
The clothes, the houses, kind of
the houses. Yeah, they were like shanty houses. And then when they showed District 11, I think that they really focused in my head, District 11 is the area of the Old South, and it really looked very, you know what I mean, late 30s, early 40s, when a lot of people in the South, especially people of color, the only jobs they could get in that area were working, in agriculture, and that was a hard job.
Plantations.
It was, it was essentially plantation work. It was very, very difficult. It was very, very grueling. And they often, even though they were growing food, they were picking food, they didn't have enough to eat, which is an intensely sad situation. And I liked how the film kind of brought attention to that and did a lot of really good foreshadowing with the uprising in District 11.
That was
when Rue's passing.
I
was
love
on. And it was
that's another one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, I think
sure
that was
there
really,
wasn't a dry eye in the house during
no,
his death.
because that wasn't something that obviously was talked about in the first book. But you know what they needed? Again, that was evidence of how they had to tailor some things to make it for the film.
Yeah,
you see
that was foreshadowing.
You see this man in the midst of the crowd, and we don't know who he is, but it can be pretty much assumed that he's Rue's father, and you see him lose it. You see him completely shatter and just go nuts and basically a riot happens, and it's incredible to watch.
And I think
it was hilarious because I had just gotten my crying about Rue under control, and then I see this scene and I'm like, oh god.
Well, one of the things
It's
that
her
I think was most powerful about that was at one point you see them beating up peacekeepers, and then you see the planes and stuff coming in with new peacekeepers, but you never see these new troops, but you hear the boots on the pavement, and then the next thing you know, they're turning hoses on people, and it reminds me of the film clips that I have seen from the 1960s of the civil rights movements, when in the South, when people these people weren't even, the ones even weren't even doing anything wrong. They were being peaceful about things, having hoses turned on them. And that's exactly what it looked like to me. And I think that was a very powerful image in a film that is full of social commentary anyway. And I think it was really, really beautiful.
To cinematically take something that it's a dystopian world. It's something that's not what we here are necessarily experiencing. So from a cinematic perspective, you take things from people's, in our case, because it's a United States audience. Yeah. Not entirely, obviously, but anyway, they take things from our history, and you see those things, and it's incredible how they were how they took those pieces, because it does resonate.
Yeah, it really does. And one of the scary things is the idea that would repeat itself. You know what I mean? Something that is that still stands fresh in the minds of America.
Such a shameful part of
that still stands strong in the minds of Americans. At least me, it's not something my country can be proud of.
Which makes me even more proud though that they cast Lenny Kravitz and they cast
and that they didn't completely just whitewash this movie, which I was afraid they were going to do.
They had a good diversity in the casting, I felt.
I believe so.
You don't have to do it just for diversity's sake, because that almost becomes an issue in and of itself. But
But I liked it, and the color of their skin was not a big deal. It was never. It was never
just
even
just like the gender.
Gender was not a. It was not a. You know what I mean? Like they weren't token this or token that. It was just very. I think it was beautifully done. It was very real. They were everyone was human, and it wasn't based on color or race or whatever. I think it was very beautifully done. But that's just my opinion.
All right.
And I think that's what I like so much about dystopian topics. That was sort of what my subject of interest is.
Which we're going to get to in the next. We're going to make this a trilogy instead of a two-parter, because we're just we
have so much to say, guys.
So thanks for holding on. We will be back for part 3.